Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josey. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josey. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josey, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's Badassery Bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is why you need a professional photographer for your listings, no exceptions. Thinking about snapping a few iPhone pics, tossing on a filter, and calling it a day? Whoa, Rain Nation, do not sabotage your own deal like that. Photos are your first showing. They're your first impression. And in a world where buyers decide in seconds whether they're clicking or scrolling, your pictures are either printing you money or costing you money. Here are 5 reasons why you always want a professional photographer on your listings. Number 1, you get more clicks, and more clicks equal more offers. Online, your photos are the hook. Pro photos stop the scroll, pull people in, and get your listing saved, shared, and booked for showings. Number 2, you sell the lifestyle, not just the house. Great photographers know how to capture the light, angles, and the flow so the space feels inviting. You're not selling a bedroom, you're selling the "don't you want to wake up here?" Number 3, you protect your price because low quality photos scream discount. Dark, crooked, cluttered photos make a property feel smaller, older, and cheaper, even if it's gorgeous in person. Pro photos help justify top dollar. Number 4, you stand out in a crowded market. When every other listing looks like it was shot in a hurry, professional images make your property look premium. Premium presentation attracts premium buyers. And number 5, you save time and stress. Pros show up with the right gear, get it done fast, and deliver consistent quality. You get to focus on the business while your listing shows up like a boss. So Rain Nation, remember, professional photography isn't just an extra, it's part of your marketing budget and it pays you back. If you want more attention, more urgency, and more money on the table, stop cutting corners on the one thing that buyers see first. Be the badass who does it right the first time. Now on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. Today's guest is Mike Doherty, a full-time real estate investor, realtor, and entrepreneur based in Connecticut. As the co-founder of Skytree Investments, Mike has built his portfolio using creative financing, flipping, and multifamily investment strategies, and he's the kind of operator who's actually out there doing the work, not just talking about it. Mike is also the host of Sky's the Limit podcast, where he interviews top investors and entrepreneurs and pulls out actionable insights on building wealth through real estate. Known for blending real-world experience with a candid, engaging style, he shares not only the wins, but the lessons from the trenches, making him a relatable voice for brand new investors and seasoned pros alike. Whether you're trying to land your first deal, scale your business, or get more creative with how you structure and fund deals, you're going to get a ton of practical takeaways from this conversation. It's my pleasure to have him on the show, so welcome, Mike Doherty.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you.
Good to see you. Thanks for being here today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I always get nervous when other podcasters are on. I'm like, I hope I'm doing everything right. So,
no, yours is kick ass. If I could say that, sorry.
You can say yes. Listener discretion is advised. Is
right,
in the beginning there. So, tell us a little background on you. You started in finance. So, what was that like?
Yeah, so I graduated from UConn, University of Connecticut, go Huskies, in 2015.
Now, pause.
Okay.
I went to University of Central Florida, so we had some rivalry
Oh
between.
yeah.
I'm just
Yep.
saying, but y'all are fantastic, basketball
We'll see.
especially.
We'll see you in the NCAA. Um, yeah, so graduated in 2015, got a job in finance. Really, I was a consumer behavior major, which is the study of why people want to buy things. So a lot of sales, a lot
Huh.
of marketing. I really didn't know anything about finance, but somehow weaseled my way into a finance job in Hartford, Connecticut. Did that for a number of years. Was selling mutual funds to financial advisors. An internal wholesaler is the actual job title. And it was good. I learned a lot. Got my Series 7 and 6 licenses, which are like financial advising licenses. So I did go through the ringer, learned a lot. And, about 5 years into that job, I was like, going to 9 to 5 cubicle, double monitors, and Monday through Friday. And I was just like, this can't be it. This can't be my
Right.
life, right? So I started actually kudos to BiggerPockets. I started learning about real estate. I always had an inkling for real estate. Always used to go to the open houses to houses you can't afford and just be around real estate. So started learning about how to invest in real estate and I stumbled across, maybe it's a good idea to house hack, which is where you live in one unit and rent out the other ones and the tenants are paying down your mortgage. So I learned everything I could between podcasts like this, forums, asking questions, reading books. So I was just a sponge. I was just absorbing all the information I could. I did that for about 2 years. They have, free rental property calculators on there. I would just
Right.
go on Zillow or Realtor and pull up, 2 to 3 unit buildings and run the numbers. And you get really good at that if you do it time and time again. So, like I said, I did that for a couple years, and then I finally bought my first two family shortly thereafter, and I lived in one unit and I rented out the other unit. So I think the difference between like my principal interest, more, PITI, they say, principal interest taxes and insurance was $400 a month. So I was living there for $400 a month, and you have to live somewhere. You got to pay rent if
Right.
you don't own a house. So I was doing it cheaper than I was paying rent at the time. So I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. I'm onto something here. And then my now wife at the time moved in with me. And then we lived in my duplex for 2 years. And then she bought a three-family down the road. And then I was able to lease out my unit, move into hers. Now I'm rent free and I'm cash flowing at my other
Nice.
duplex. So that's what kind of gave me the bug, as they say. And it was all uphill or downhill from there, uphill from there.
Well, house hacking is such a great way to get started because you are truly immersed in the whole real estate game. You have a tenant next door. Did your tenant next door know that you were the owner?
They did,
Okay.
yeah. It was really hard to like separate that. I definitely learned a lot of lessons and I probably would separate it now, but they
Right.
did know at the time, yeah. So,
Well, a lot of the listeners are maybe driving to work Monday morning, curse and having to work for the man. And when you were talking about cubicles, and I remember waiting for the coffee to get made because Joni over in the other cubicle land, drank the last bit of the coffee but didn't put more coffee in there, just all that stuff. And I agree. We have so many listeners that are thinking this can't be it. So it's great that you took that leap and you did that. So you had kind of a transition there. So when when you first started, were there any misconceptions about real estate before you got like knee deep in that maybe you had to unlearn something of the sort?
yeah, so, I was kind of the first of my family, friends to ever do this, and I got a lot of pushback. I remember my, kind of roommates at the time, like, why are you gonna go buy a duplex? Or like, we're we're renting here, everything's good. It's like, your tenants aren't gonna pay your rent, you gotta fix clogged toilets. What if, insurance, this, and those are all real things. But I always tell, I'm a realtor now, full-time realtor. And I tell all my clients, just because when you close on the house, it's not going to fall down that day, right? It could burn down the next, it could burn down in the future, but things don't just fall apart the day you buy a house. So you kind of have to get over that mindset, and it's one step at a time. Learn how to be a landlord. I think learn how to communicate with your tenants. The financials were a little different. I was using Excel. I still use it Excel on certain things, but you just learn as you go. You ask questions. There's people, just when you think you have 100 units, there's someone that has 200 units, and 200 units, someone has 1,000 units. So there's always
Right.
people. I always say never be the smartest person in the room, because then you stop learning. So
Absolutely.
I always just gravitated towards people, and you start going to local real estate meetups, and you start meeting other like-minded people. I was trying to position myself to others that were doing the same thing. I would go into this corporate job. I kid you not. I bought another duplex after the house hack. And I would, on my lunch break, I would trailer, or I had like a carry-all thing, put it in the back of my Jeep, and I would go mow my lawn, one of my rental properties, on my lunch break. And I'd come back with like, it's like a corporate job. So I had like slacks on and stuff. And like I had to change the shoes. It was a whole thing. I'll never forget it. But you just do what you have to do.
Right.
Now, I couldn't even imagine mowing one of my own rental lawns, because you find leverage, but you don't know that at the time. So there's a great book by Dan Sullivan, Who Not How, and it just
Oh,
teaches you, if you're worth $50 an hour, $60 an hour, but you could pay someone $25 or $30 an hour to do that same job, why wouldn't you? And just
right.
it teaches you how to use leverage. So you learn all that as you go.
Huge, absolutely. And so very impressed you were doing that during your lunch break. And I bet
Yep.
your coworkers are like, what is this young guy doing? But let's kind of focus on that for a second. So as I was saying, some of my listeners, they are driving to work right now saying, yeah, this dude, he owns multiple properties, he does all this stuff. But what was that first bridge? Because for so many of the listeners, they feel like it's such a massive leap to get into real estate. So what do you recommend so it doesn't feel like such a massive leap?
Well, I always say it's free to go look at a property. If there's so much information online that's free, it's free, especially as a buyer, to hire a realtor. You could go look, not, I wouldn't advocate this, poor realtors out there, but you could go look at a bunch of properties, all multifamily, if that's what you want to go into. You could speak to lenders. They can get you pre-qualified. And I think it's just taking the first step. Take action, right? A lot of people get caught up by, they say, analysis by paralysis, which is, I'm getting caught up in the numbers. What if, my property doesn't cash flow? It's okay if, to me, right? It's okay if you're breaking even on that first property, because you're going to learn so much. You're not going to hit a home run on your first property. Go for a base hit. Just get in the game and take action. I think that's the number one. So do your homework online, read the forums, read books, listen to podcasts like this, become a wealth of information, ask the right questions. Go to local here in Connecticut. We have a couple different investor meetup like groups. We
Rios,
meet
yeah.
once a month. They're free. Just come, hang out, talk to other like-minded people, ask questions, and that'll build your confidence. I think a lot of people don't ever get into the game because they don't have enough confidence, or they don't think they have enough confidence. But like I said, the house doesn't burn down the day you buy it, and it's just there's so much free information out there that you gotta be more confident, I'd say.
Well, excuse me, I love the thought telling everyone got to take action because that's just huge. And so many people are stuck in analysis paralysis. And I love that you said go to these meetups because I coach students right now for a program called Rental Property Pro, and everything's online. We do Zoom calls like all day long. I'm on Zoom calls. But once you step away from behind your computer and get in the room with these people, just like you said, even with the who, not how, applying to this, you're going to find your people, even if you aren't investing in that area. Because Connecticut, your properties can be pretty expensive up there. Maybe you want to invest out of state where you can buy cheaper and get higher rents, etc. But just having those people, there's a lot of money in those meetups, people who want to lend you money, you find lenders in there. So I think that is excellent advice, Mike. So what did your journey look like? So you have this first duplex and you house hacked, and then your now wife, you bought a triplex, I think you said, down the road. So how did you scale your business, and what did it feel like actually saying peace out to that W-2 job?
Yeah, so maybe that's a misconception. It doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes
Say it
especially if you
louder for
don't.
the people in the
Yeah.
back, please.
Yeah, don't get discouraged. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow progression, but again, the more base hits you get, eventually you start scoring. So,
Yep.
we had the two multis. I ended up buying a couple more, but my problem was, and this is a big hurdle I had to like realize and get over, was I ran out of money. After you buy your first property with probably a low down FHA loan or low down conventional loan, that's great. And then you got to save up for maybe 20-25% for your next multifamily because it's a non-owner occupied property now. Then for me, I was out of money after my second one. I was like, okay, how do people get to 50, 60 units? It just doesn't make sense. So that's when I really learned about the BRRRR method, right? They
Yes.
talk about it on BiggerPockets a lot. The buy, renovate, rehab, rent out, refinance, I think is the acronym there.
Okay. It's
Um,
buy, renovate, rent, refinance,
rent, there it is.
repeat. Yes.
Yes, repeat. There it is. Repeat, repeat, repeat. So the what the meaning behind that is you have to buy a property that there's some value add, whether it's through management and you increase the rents or
Good.
construction because you're buying a property that's outdated. Either way, you're buying a property at a discount and you're increasing the value of it. And when you go to refinance part of that process, the appraiser, the new bank you're going to go to, is going to give you a new loan based on the new ARV, the after repair value, after you've done all your work and you've re-rented it out at higher rents. And hopefully, you're going to get a new 75% loan to value on that
Right.
loan. And you pull back, and again, this is very simplified, but you pull back a lot of your initial down payment. So if I'm going to go buy a $100,000 house, I put $25,000 of work into it, and now it's worth 250,000. Well, I get a loan 75% of 250,000 and I get all my initial money back
Right.
and I can reuse that capital. So that's what I did for my third deal. I ran out of money, then I saved up. I said, okay, I need to buy like a fixer upper. I went and bought a duplex for on foreclosure for like 125 grand. I put 50 grand into it. It was worth 250 to 300 at the end, and I pulled out my capital, and then I was able to have my money back to go buy another deal. So that's that BRRRR model.
Super, super smart. And I know you're into some creative financing too. What's your favorite type of creative financing deals?
Good question. Probably seller finance.
Who doesn't
You
love
know,
seller financing?
I know. I've done a couple sub two deals, subject two deals. They're a little bit more attorneys don't love them. And you as the buyer, you have to be pretty careful because if you see a change of ownership, the bank could call the note due on
Right.
sale clause. So
Do you
seller
think that's
finance is
happening more and more these days?
um, I haven't seen it between myself or any of my clients, but it can happen. Like the risk is out there. But even if the bank calls the note due, it's not like it's due tomorrow. You could still either sell it or refinance to another
Okay,
institution.
good.
I mean, it's the same thing if you quit claim a deed. You buy it
Mhm.
in your personal name for the better rate, and then you quit claim it to an LLC for asset protection. That quit claiming could cause the note
Mm.
due on sale clause. But again, I've done it, and knock on wood, I've done it a bunch, and as long as you keep paying your bills, you're all right.
Seller
So yeah,
financing. Let's go back to seller
seller finance,
financing.
yes. Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to structure it between, I bought a number of properties on seller finance terms. Obviously, the allure there for you is something less than 20% down. A lot of sellers I speak to are like, yeah, I'll do seller finance for 50% down. I'm like, but I can go get a loan for 20% down. Why would I do that?
Right.
So a couple good examples I've done is I bought a duplex in Fairfield, Connecticut. We put 10% down. He's holding the note for 10 years, 10-year balloon. 40-year amortization, which a normal
Oh,
bank is 30-year amortization. So we spread out that payment longer, which lowers our
monthly payment.
monthly mortgage payment to him.
Right.
So more cash flow in our pocket. And he's holding it at a 4% interest rate, which
Mm.
is much lower than any rate, as you know, we can get today. So that is a great example. 10% down, less than I would normally have to put, lower interest rate, higher amortization in a 10-year balloon. So,
So, what
and
does that mean to the listeners? What is a 10-year balloon?
a 10-year balloon means when do I have to pay him back? So I'm 40 years is the length of when you spread out the amortization over 40 years, it breaks your payment down over 40 years. But I owe him all of the remaining principal balance. So if I bought it for 800,000 At the end of 10 years, I might owe 500,000. I owe him 500,000. So my options are either to sell or refinance or ask for an extension. Hey, if we've had a great relationship and you enjoy making all the interest off me, do you want to extend it another 10 years? That's always an option too.
Very good. And in 10 years, the value of the property does what?
Goes up.
Exactly.
Historically, goes up.
Historically, yes, please. Let's keep that going. So,
Yeah.
very, very smart way to purchase properties. Any other creative financing? I can't think of what else. Seller
Like I said,
financing.
subject to
Yeah.
is another creative way.
I just feel like there's so many baby boomers out there that, they were in the business for a while and they have all these properties and they're getting ready to die off. And, they're like, oh, I'm leaving all this for my kids. And the kids are like, hell no, I don't want that. All I saw growing up was you unclogging toilets, 3 or 4 times a week. I don't want that. And so this whole option of allowing them to still have the legacy that was left to them, pay them for it, but they become the bank as a seller financing, as opposed to, just buying it and them getting a lump sum, so they can kind of spread that out. And I do love the whole 10-year balloon, and that's great. And the option of, hey, we can extend this loan as well, because that 4%, let's hope we get back there, but we probably are not going to get back to that area. So
Never know.
So what is one of your favorite deals that you've done?
Good question. So I really did like that Fairfield seller finance deal. I do have a good one. So after, probably this is probably my fourth property. I needed to partner with someone else up until the point I had done everything myself. So I partnered with a partner I still work with today, and we bought a 4 unit in New Britain, Connecticut, and I raised all the capital. So I used none of my own money, which we can get into later about using other people's money.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I had a bit of a track record. You get a lot of people that say, oh, can you send me your lenders? Can you send me that? It's like, but what's your track record look like, right? So I had built a little bit of a track record. My partner had a bit of a track record. So we'd proven success. So we raised the down payment that would be required. And then from there, we held it 1 year, increased the value, sold it, and did a 1031 exchange into a commercial 5 unit property on seller finance terms.
What?
So I didn't use any of my own money to acquire the property, and now I'm selling it for a profit, deferring all the capital gains legally through a 1031 exchange, and buying a better asset on seller finance terms. I think the terms of that 5 unit we bought was 5% down, like 3% interest, another 10-year hold. So it was, again, a gentleman who had cared for the property for years and years and years, and he was just tired. He didn't want to pay capital gains by selling it outright. So the cool thing about why people want to do seller finance on the other side is because if I'm the owner of the property, I'm only paying capital gains on the down payment I receive. So some people only want a little bit down. So we give him 5% down. He'll pay, his long-term capital gains on that down payment, and then the rest is spread out over those years. So that was a really cool
Smart.
deal. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is excellent. Wow, I love that. So you obviously have definitely excelled in the real estate industry, but going back to the beginning, is there any, because I know you said you did kind of the YouTube University, you listened to BiggerPockets. By the way, if you are under a rock out there, BiggerPockets is where I started listening as well to podcasts. They have excellent podcasts, lots of tools and everything. So definitely check it out. But anything that you would have done differently now that you are in the trenches, what would that look like for you?
Yeah, I probably would have either learned about using other people's money sooner, or I would have went to that BRRRR model sooner, meaning after my first duplex, and again, this is just you don't know what you don't know, but after
Right.
my first duplex, it would have behooved me to buy a value add property, put in some sweat equity, and do the cash out refinance, which is all tax free. Instead, I saved up 20-25%, which took me 2 years to do, the
Mm-hmm.
gap. So you lose momentum because you're saving up for that next down payment. But if I had just bought a bit of a fixer-upper, I could have recycled my money sooner and grown sooner.
Very good. So how do you decide if you're going to flip it or hold it refinance it? What factors go into that decision for you?
Yeah, good question. So I always think as flippers as replacing one job for another. You can become rich by flipping, but you're not
Right.
building wealth. So if you're of the wealth building mindset, which I think all of us are here,
Mm-hmm.
then you want to keep the property and hold it long term because you're going to get appreciation. You could depreciate the property. You do a cash out refinance, which is tax-free money. You have leverage, right? If you're flipping, that's an active job,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So I had the realization that I want money to work for me while I'm sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do that while you're flipping. You can get rich and people do very well flipping, but you're not building wealth. And that's the biggest difference.
Yeah. And with the market these days, they're sitting longer. It's a lot more riskier. During COVID, I mean, people were getting cabin fever and just wanting to move someplace different. They're in their house cooped up. And I mean, you could sell a piece of garbage 50K over asking, back in those days. But right now, it is definitely smarter to focus on more of the buy and holds, I think. So,
Yeah.
let's finish this first part of the podcast here by talking about OPM, other people's money. How is the best way for people to use other people's money, and what does that process look like?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways you could do it. I would say it's a harder sell if you don't know what you're doing and if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a track record. With that said, there are a ton of syndicators out there that are, creating funds and raising money, but I think the easiest way for someone is to just to partner with someone. Maybe you pool half your money and half someone else's money, like I did on that 4 unit deal I bought. I came together with a partner and we raised a lot of money, but the money we raised was from our attorney.
Hmm.
So he was closing the deals that we were buying. So he saw both the purchases and the sales of the deal. So he's, oh, wow. And no one's going to come out and say, yeah, I'll give you $100,000, right? You obviously have to ask and work through the terms, and it's not the cheapest, right? Private funds can be anywhere from anywhere from 8 to 12% interest. A lot of these time, a lot of the people lending are interest only, but there's points involved. So it is more expensive, but you could do a joint venture with someone where maybe there's three of you, and you're raising a little bit of money from some outside investors, but there's three main operators, so you're spreading the risk. So joint ventures, you could do syndications, you could reach out to friends and family. They could go down if they don't even want to be on the loan, they could stay under that. I think it's like 19% threshold on underwriting, if so they have less than 90% ownership.
Hmm.
There's a bunch of different ways you could structure it.
So, what does that partnership or JV look like to you? Have you ever had any go south?
Knock on wood, no. I've always paid back my lenders and investors. I don't syndicate, so I'm not going out and buying 100 unit comp. Not that I interview a lot of people on our podcast that do that, and there's a lot of wealth to be made there. But I always forget if it's like a 503B or C, where if you're gonna go out and raise money, one of those you can go out and raise for people that you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be registered with the SEC. And then the other one
You have to be
is you can
accredited.
accredited
Yeah.
investor, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the other one, you can just reach out to friends and family and they don't have to be accredited. So there's a lot of nuances and I'm just not there yet in my career. But so all the money I've raised is from friends and family. It's people that are happy to take a 10% return. I
Right.
don't really hold longer than a year. It's a property that if I had enough money myself, obviously I would use it. And a lot of times what people like to see is a little skin in the game, right? Can you give a little bit of your own money in there just to show proof of concept and that you're not just gonna take it on a whim and who knows what you're gonna do with it. So a little skin in the game goes a long way too.
And for the listeners who are thinking, I don't know anybody, I don't have any family or friends that have money, what would you tell them?
You just don't know it.
Good answer, Mike. Exactly. I'm a former school teacher. This is why I'm asking, because when we first started and one of my coaches said, yeah, do private money. You're going to borrow from friends and family. And I'm like, none of my school teacher friends have money. Are you kidding me? And it's wild. I've had school teacher friends lend me money. They do have money, and you just don't realize it. So that was the perfect answer there. So before we move to the second part of the podcast here, tell us a little bit about your business. And I also want to hear a little bit about Sky's the Limit podcast. But tell me a little bit about your business first.
Yeah, so I'm a full-time realtor. I made that jump from that corporate world in 2021, 2022. So I had worked at that job for about 7 years out of college. And then I had a couple rentals at the time, but they weren't really paying the bills. So I said, okay, I need to replace my active income with another active income job. And I wasn't going to flip full-time. So I got my realtor license while working that job. And I can still remember calling out of work to go on appraisals and go on inspections. So the writing was on the wall, but I was building my rental portfolio and I was building a client base as a realtor. And my focus was working with investors. Like that was my niche, and that's what I like to do. So I built my book of business, and I wasn't making as much as a realtor as I was in that W-2 job, but I was making enough because I lowered my living expenses, and this is really important. I lowered my living expenses so much by having house hacking, right? I lived in that one duplex, was paying $400 to live there. And then my wife bought one. Now I'm not paying any rent. We're living for free. So we're both saving our money, and it's all going to savings so that I can finally make that jump. It's very hard, and a lot of people listening are probably, they might have kids and they have a lot of responsibilities. It's very hard to make that jump mentally if you're not financially sound. There's probably different gurus out there that say you need to have 1 years of life spending saved. I don't know what the number is. It's probably different for everyone, but that was really important to me to have a little nest egg to try to make that jump to be a full-time realtor. So that was in 2021, I want to say. So haven't looked back. But so I'm a full-time real estate, to answer your question, full-time real estate agent, working with a lot of investors, do anywhere from, a lot of the multifamilies, 2 to 4 units, to commercial buildings. And I buy and hold rentals. I've done probably like 10 to 15 flips in my career. I got into wholesaling for a little bit, still do a little bit of wholesaling. But again, the flipping and the wholesaling, it's just a means to make more money to go buy more rentals.
Yep.
So yeah, and then Sky's the Limit podcast, similar to your
let's hear about
podcast.
that.
I'm speaking to real estate investors, I speak to a lot of syndicators, a lot of guys that are in like private financing, different operators throughout the country. And so they're all raising capital and doing the syndications, and I learned a lot about that. So it's been really good. It's been a good journey.
Very good. I love podcasting because I get to meet people like you, hear different stories, just reinforce things that I have learned because you have had similar experiences. And yeah, you are just nailing it for a young guy over there. I wish I would have started at your age, and and plus you do have that Yukon thing going on, but that's a whole nother issue. I'm just kidding. But I want to move to the second part of the podcast here, which is what makes Mike Doherty a badass, which you clearly are. And I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. What's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
So the first book I read was Robert Kiyosaki's, as many others, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Four Quadrants. It just opens your eye up to, making money while you sleep. I really, really like that book. And then Who Not How by Dan Sullivan, again, all about using leverage. And that, I still get into like fights with my wife now. And, I'm not the most handy guy, but I'll try to fix something here and there. But I'm like, I could just pay the plumber to replace this garbage disposal for $120. It's going to take me 4 hours in YouTube to do it. Can I just do that? She's like, come on, you never want to do anything. It's not about not wanting to do it. I can do it. It's just going to take me a lot longer.
Right.
And I could go make money in these 4 hours doing this, what I am good at, versus that, what I'm not good at. So that whole book kind of goes through that. It's really, really good. I really implore all your listeners to take a look at that.
Those are in my top 5, those 2 books. I love both of them. I got the Gap and the Gain, and I started reading that one. I couldn't get into that. Did you read that one? The next one?
I haven't read that one. No, not yet.
Yeah, that's
Is it good? I got to write it down. What is it?
Gap and the Gain, or Gap and Gain, or something.
What's that one about?
I don't really know because I couldn't get into it, but it's Dan Sullivan. Am I saying the right name?
Dan Sullivan? Who Not How?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's the author in that one as well. So because I loved Who Not How, and I was like, this isn't
Yeah.
hitting like the other one, but still, I got to get back
Another
into
good
that.
one
Yeah,
on my shelf right here is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, who is an ex-FBI like hostage
hostage. Yep.
negotiator. Yeah. More about the art of like mindset and psychology and what makes people tick and do certain things, which I love, especially being in sales. So I really enjoyed that book. Less about real estate, but you can still apply the same principles to real estate.
Huge, absolutely. All right. The first A in Badass is for advice. You've given us great advice, but I'm curious, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice I've ever, just take action.
Oh,
So like I'm doing this now with as far as like, I want to build up a YouTube channel, right? And I'm looking at all these teleprompters and these microphones and these cameras, and I'm like doing all this research. I'm like, just buy a damn camera, just buy a damn teleprompter and figure it out. Just
right.
take action, right? It's like you just get stuck and nothing ever happens. And then a year goes by and you're like, I never made any YouTube videos, right? Just silly things like that. Just take action. Just take
Take
action.
action.
Yeah.
And YouTube is a tough cookie to crack. I will tell you, I
Yeah.
just started, goodness, about a year ago, putting all of mine on YouTube. And, I'm still doing a lot of the editing myself. So it's just one of those like, you don't need a teleprompter. There's programs where you can have your eyes up here, and even if you're looking down here, it's like weird AI stuff going on. So you actually don't even need teleprompters
I'll take a
anymore.
look. Yeah. Yeah. I'll take a look.
Descript is what I use. All right. The D in Badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful?
Generational wealth for my family. Yeah.
Nice. Do you have
Yeah.
kids?
One on the way.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah. One
I'm,
on the way.
I'm a former middle school teacher, so that was the best form of birth control. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
No kids for us.
I know. I'd also say that like truly passive income, to have the freedom to do whatever you want, be financially free is a huge one. If I just want to hang it up, I'm not there yet, full disclosure, but to be able to just hang it up and just do whatever you want, that's a pretty powerful statement. And yeah, so be financially free. And I think real estate is the key to that door.
Absolutely. Yes, well said. All right, the second A in Badass is aspiration. So I'm a big goal setter. What is a goal you are currently working on?
Goal I'm currently working on. I want to get to 200 doors before I'm 35 years old. I'm
Wow,
at 100 now, and I'm 32, about to be 33. So I have a lot of work ahead, but I think it's attainable.
very good. All right, the first S in Badass is for systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
Really good question. So I spent a lot of time on systems. I was not my partner at Skytree Investments. He's definitely the systems guy, and I've learned a lot from him. But as far as my realtor business using leverage, I made my first hire, full-time hire, like full-time assistant hire and transaction coordinator. She's awesome. She kind of does a lot of the behind the scenes work that would normally bog me down.
Right.
So having I call her my work wife, or for women, work husband or whoever, having your integrator in your business is really powerful. And then like other apps and stuff I use, I'm an Outlook guy, not a Google guy, but systems. I use Up Boss for my CRM. I spent a lot of time researching
Nice.
what would work well for that. So it's like a whole communication system in there. It's really good. What other systems? That's a good question. What other systems are there? I'm trying to
I
think.
would die if I didn't have just my Google Calendar. That's like a huge
Yeah.
system. And my morning routine is another system. People don't think of that as a system, but if I don't get my morning routine in,
Ooh, good
get my
one.
exercise, get some little meditation going on, set
Yeah.
my sights for what I'm doing for the day, my whole day is messed up. So that's a big system for me as well.
That's
So,
really good. Yeah.
what
Um,
does your morning routine look like?
I ask this question to every person I interview on the podcast, and I never really thought about my own morning routine. In a perfect world, which I'd probably say 3 to 4 out of the 7 days a week I accomplish it, is I'll wake up, have a coffee, and then I'll go right to the gym. And then I will shower, change at the gym, and come to the office I'm at here now. And that really sets me up for the day. If I wait A good workout will like really change your mindset for a good
Right.
like it's the first thing I do is I make my bed. It's the first thing I
Yep.
accomplish in the day, right? It's like check one. Then I go chug some water, make a coffee, get to the gym, and then come and I'm not a morning person. I've really tried read books. I'm just not a morning person. So I'm up at 7, which is probably late for some people. And I'm at the gym by like 8, work out till 9, in the office between 9:30 and 10, and then I go to work from there. So I try to be home. I have a very active dog who I love. He's like half shepherd, half cattle, so I make time for him every
Aw.
day. So I'm usually home by like 4 o'clock. But again, it goes to like having a flexible schedule and working towards that passive income and being financially free. I have the ability to do that.
Yep.
Didn't have that working in nine to five.
Huge. All right. Well, I could talk to you all day, Mike, but the final S in badass is for success. What does success mean to you?
I think success for me is when you can officially hang it up and have enough passive income to support your lifestyle. And that's
Yep.
going to look different for everyone. It might be $5,000 a month for someone, it might be $20,000 a month for someone else. But I think that is the definition of success. Again, is to be financially free through passive income and have other people make you money using leverage.
So well said. So, before I sign off here, what is the best way for listeners to find you? If maybe they want to invest in one of your properties, or if they're looking for to buy up in Connecticut, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, so I'm on all social platforms. You could listen to the podcast, Sky's the
Which
Limit podcast. You
Sky's the
could
Limit
check that
podcast
out.
is
My
podcast in the title of it? Or
Yes,
okay, Sky's the
Sky's the
Limit
Limit
podcast.
podcast with
Good.
Mike and Ryan, it's called.
Good.
My Instagram is at Mike Doherty Realtor. You can find me there. I could skytreeinvestments.com is our website. That's kind of like shows the properties we own. We've got a couple of different links on there you can go to. So skytreeinvestments.com or Mike at Mike Doherty Realtor for Instagram. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Mike, I appreciate you being here today and sharing your badassery. Thanks so much for being here today.
Jen, thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome time.
Absolutely. And that is all. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery, and don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josey by visiting therealjenjosey.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.